Right now in my junior year, I'm taking 2 AP classes and 2 honors classes. 4 APs so far and 5 honors classes in total.
I am currently signed up for / have taken in total 8 AP classes, but I have taken honors classes every single year with the exception of senior year because all of my honors classes were APs.
It's normalized here to be taking as many APs and honors as you can, and I always thought that was the norm everywhere, but when I meet people who have moved here to Silicon Valley and weren't here before, they get culture shock.
Yes, I think that across the board in America, a lot of students are dealing with this. But if we talk about this area, I do think we are getting hit some of the hardest.
The high levels of pressure in Silicon Valley do seem pretty unique, just becomes this hot spot for pressure.
It's very interesting for me to have conversations with parents at back to school nights, conferences, open houses, where they're like, yeah, we're really excited about our kid being in advanced math, or we think math is so important. Then they'll also say at the same time, I never took these math classes, and they're like Google CEOs, they're NASA scientists, they're very high white collar jobs, and they managed to take calculus in college. Interesting that they feel like their kid has to be in the most advanced math classes now. They have to be taking ridiculously advanced math classes as a middle schooler or as a high schooler when they themselves didn't go through that.
When you have so many students who are so talented, intelligent in one place, and you have a community that attracts people from all over the world, we have a community that really wants to support their children. Perhaps they don't always know how.
I have parents all the time asking, what can we do during the summer to make sure that they stay on top of their math? I've been flat out honest with especially some parents. I'm like, look, in a few years your kid's gonna be taking summer school SAT classes. They're in 7th grade right now. Let them go play outside during the summer.
That's, bumped up times 10 when you come to this area. A lot of Silicon Valley schools and areas are even more competitive than the national averages. And that shows up actually even in other extracurriculars like, say, Boy Scouts. I think about 5% of Boy Scouts become the very difficult Eagle Scout status. Around here, that number I think is much higher.
The extracurriculars for me, I'm in choir, which is a lot of effort, and then also orchestra, and rehearsals for the musicals until 6 every day, 6 hours for speech and debate every week, 6 to 8 hours for choir, 6 hours for orchestra, and musical every day. I'm basically working on all of them every single day. It gets to a point where you hit a wall at some point where you just get very exhausted. After some time, it just gets to a point where you need a long break to keep that lifestyle up. No, I don't get a lot of breaks. There's a myth, that if you work that hard, you'll be that rich. And because everybody is trying to meet that bar that's been set, a lot of people are just overexerting themselves. There was this suicide cluster at Gun High in 2008. Basically, I think up to 6 students in 1 year affiliated with Gun committed suicide.
You see more and more instances of kids trying and completing suicide. You see a lot of drug abuse, kids being very upset over school grades. We've put a lot of that on the school system. Oh, we'll do free lunches. Oh, we'll do backpack giveaways. We'll do all sorts of things to get kids across the finish line. And mental health has become one of those things, right? Oh, there's on-site school psychologists and support groups, or maybe not support groups, but therapies. We bring dogs on campus so that kids have 10 minutes to interact with dogs. We do it once or twice a year, which doesn't really address the bigger issue. It's a quick Band-Aid, right?
It's got benefits. I think there's a lot that can happen in an AP class that can be really, really powerful for a student and for that group of students and that teacher. The pace is strong. The level of academic rigor is pretty high. And if you're a student that's challenged and you want to be challenged and you want to meet those high goals, it's there for you. You have that option. At the same time, it's something I think that people it needs to be balanced, right? You need to have, every student needs to have kind of some downtime. It shouldn't be everything is AP, because that doesn't leave a lot of space, free time to pursue other, interests. It doesn't leave just downtime to just breathe and just relax and recover. You know, that level of commitment to reading and writing, and if it's math and science, you know, just memorization and learning formulas and just the overwhelming workload, it can really break a person down. So, you know, it's definitely something that has a lot of potential to help a student out and help them advance, but it needs to be measured. I mean, that's definitely my professional opinion.
It's really normalized here to be taking as many APs and honors as you can. It's mostly just the fact that everybody here is taking all those classes.
It's definitely coming from the peer group, right? People especially in communities like Mountain View, we value academic success. We value career success.
Some people say, well, their parents are pressuring them, but I don't see that. And then you'll also hear, oh, their peers are pressuring them. That's why they have to achieve. And I don't see that either.
Where it's not coming from, or where people are trying to dim it down, I can tell you, is from teachers. I mean, when we talk as teachers, we're like, how can we get folks to take less APs? How can we get people to understand that this workload doesn't have to be so high? So there's that message, but now that I think about it a little bit, I don't know if we fully do enough to like reduce the amount of work. Like, I think we give it lip service, like let's lower the stress, but maybe we don't do enough as a staff to actually think about, are we giving too much homework? Are we giving too many assignments?
So I think it's a lot of pressure. It's unhealthy, to be quite honest. It causes burnout.
We want to create a culture where we're having that conversation with the student, where we're informing them of the options, where we show them examples, because a lot of this comes out of fear of making a mistake or doing the wrong thing, where we show them that there is a pathway to the university of their dreams or to go to become the person they want to be that includes taking care of themselves at the same time. So they don't have to take 5 AP classes. Maybe in their junior year they want to take 2. So having that conversation and seeing what they're interested in is really critical. First and foremost, offering them multiple options where they can find their passions in a different way, but also really talking to them and making it culturally acceptable to them, to build in some time to be excellent in some areas and not try and do everything at once. So we're working with our counseling team, our administrators, but we're really also trying to create these distinct different pathways. And we know that students want to take these AP courses and they don't want to necessarily go into a pathway if they can't try and get that college credit. So we're making it available within the pathways as well.
I've never thought about solutions because I'm bound to I have to give A's, B's, C's, and D's. And to an extent, I try to help the kid when I see that their grades aren't doing well and I know that they will face consequences at home. I try to be empathetic with them. It's a hard fix, for sure.
If we're really going to make a systemic change, we have to listen to the students who are in the classroom because their vantage point is more relevant, their vantage point is more recent, and they see more than we do because they're there from the beginning of the day to the end.
The solution for helping students with this kind of increased workload or dealing with these kind of, I think, resulting mental issues that can come from this, the solution really, I think, starts with families and teachers talking about stuff like this and normalizing things like maybe mental health support, normalizing things like actually reducing your workload because maybe you'll get less college credits but you'll be happier.
I think that personally, the most important thing that needs to be done right now is trying to change the reason that mental health is an issue rather than trying to provide quick relief once it's a big issue for individual students.
We are developing a system of support where it's clear to every student and family where they can go to get help. Also, we're working on training our teachers and counselors and administrators and all of our classified staff to recognize and support young people. We have counselors on site, we have caring and loving teachers, but we want to make sure that there's a clear path so students know where to find help, and then also that we're continuing to train ourselves so we can jump in as quickly as possible.
You know, when we're talking about putting caps on APs or that students can take as many APs as they want to take, that conversation has come up that maybe we should put a limit. Should there be a limit on the number of APs that students can take? And there's been resistance to that. That's been an issue that, you know, some people say that the families don't want that there's you know, a lot of pressure from parents. They want their students to have as many opportunities as their students want to take to really make that resume, you know, as strong as possible. The pressure to get into the best college, I think, is really the kind of the deciding factor that has limited us to what a lot of people would feel probably a healthier balance if you could put a cap on APs. That would force students to definitely choose the ones they really want to take. But you're up against a situation where there's just so much competition or perceived competition for college. You know, I think there's a lot of feeling like I've got to do this or I'm not going to get into this really great college. I don't think people are aware that there's a lot of different schools out there, ones you might not have even heard of. You know, you're going to get into a good school somewhere. Like, it takes the joy out of learning. There's not the space for a young person to kind of lean back and to like invest themselves in that particular lesson or in that unit. Chose a project where we would survey our students about what they were learning in their classes, and what almost everybody said, because one of the questions was like, what did you learn in this course? What everybody said was, I learned how to memorize facts. I learned that you had to read a lot on, you know, the certain essential content if you wanted to do well on the test. I learned that you had to keep up with your homework at this time of year. Like, it was all about how to do school. What they learned was how to do school. They didn't learn anything like, I mean, they must have, but they didn't learn how to evaluate facts. They never mentioned that. They didn't say, I learned how to compare and contrast two sources. Like, there was no content or skill awareness. It was all how to do school.
If you ask me anything about chem honors, I could not answer you. I could not. Wait, I didn't take chem honors.